Chris Murphy is upset. He's been upset about this entire administration since the beginning. He was talking about their nominees. I'm not sure how many ones he voted against. I'm sure he probably voted for some of them that are destroying the country as heads of these cabinets. But he's been speaking out. He's been talking actionable about things that he wants to do and has been trying to do. So I give Chris Murphy a lot of credit. Democrat Chris Murphy from Connecticut.
That's the most monstrous piece of legislation I've ever voted on in my time in Congress. What do those Republican senators go back and tell their constituents that they did? In the final speech, the only thing they mentioned was the money for the border. But what more can they do? They've already militarized the border. They've already created an immigration police state. They didn't mention anything about the fact this bill kicks 17 million people off of their health care. There are going to be thousands of people who die in this country because they lose their access to health care. There'll be tens of thousands of other lives that are needlessly destroyed. This is the biggest cut in child nutrition in the history of the country, I think. There are going to be moms and dads who literally watch their children go hungry. And why? Because they wanted to pad the pockets of Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago friends. That's the only reason that they are throwing people off of healthcare, that they are rendering little children hungry so that some billionaire can get an extra $200,000 tax cut. It's just repulsive what they did. Now, it hasn't passed the House. There is a small but not insignificant chance that we can stop this bill before it gets to the president's desk. So let's get to work. Let's keep fighting. Let's not give up. Even if it does pass the House, then we have to tell the world what they did. We have to make sure that every single senator, every single congressman who voted for this from a swing state or a swing district never sets foot in this building again. This is a moral abomination, what they just did.
Chris Murphy came at least with saying what he wants to do and how we're going to continue to change this. The only thing I continue to disagree with any of these folks on is talking about how the next election, we're going to make sure this happens and make sure that doesn't happen. And the next election, the next election, and the next election. We have to fully understand these guys are fascists. These guys are authoritarian. They don't want any more elections. I mean, look, I just read a story about the leadership in Miami has already pushed back their elections that's supposed to happen at the end of this year into next year, basically giving that Republican leadership another year just because they want to. I'm not sure how much power they have to do that. Maybe it's going to get pushed back, but that was the initial report that I did see happening. When I saw the level of which they were dismissing even some of the MAGA folks who were like, whoa, I voted for bigotry light, not bigotry heavy, where it eventually comes for me as well, because it doesn't really matter because I'm nowhere near this class war that they're fighting against poor people. But even when those folks stood up and fought back, they gave them a couple middle fingers and said, "Who you voted for us? We're done with you." So even then, I was like, oh, they don't care about elections anymore. They don't care about popularity. They don't care about polling. They don't care about how any of their policies are polling and what they're doing. They don't care about how they're lying about Medicare and Medicaid and how they're taking it from all these people. They don't care because they don't expect to ever have to be held responsible for the things that they're doing. Because as people finally take to the streets, they're going to get to shooting at them and they're going to get to calling it riots like they did in Los Angeles. That was a test run. To call it a riot in Los Angeles so they can deploy the National Guard and the Marines and have this militarized state, which again is what fascists do. He already did it, bro. There's no, oh, he's predicting that they're going to unleash the military on the streets of America. We're already there. They're just going to do it on a wider scale as the next city and the next city and the next city and the next city does it too. And then how we have elections when we have a war going on in our streets with these insurgent citizens. We can't have an election. No midterm elections right now. I hope I'm wrong, but do you see where it could be going? Sorry, that was a tangent I had to go on there. But I want to point out, again, as they're lying about this, as this bill was getting some amendments pushed forward or proposed amendments to change it in the Senate before they then passed it, Republicans bristled at the thought that they're representing rich folks, even though the bill completely represents rich folks at the expense of everyone else. They bristled at it, but when the facts are in front of you, you can't dismiss it. I want you guys to listen to this.
Already tell that this narrative is about how we're all about the wealthy.
We can save health care for millions of Americans if we strip out tax giveaways for individuals making more than $10 million. Yes or no?
No. No's appear to have it. No's do have it.
We can help parents be able to take their kids to the doctor. We can keep seniors in their nursing homes. If we stripped out tax giveaways for individuals making more than $100 million a year.
Nay. Noes appear to have it.
People are going to die when 17 million people lose their health care. And for what? To give an average $250,000 tax cut to the wealthiest families. This amendment would just say no tax cuts for people making over $500 million.
All opposed, no. The noes appear to have it.
So my amendment is really simple. People making $1 billion.
All opposed, no. The noes appear to have it. The noes do have it. Motion is not agreed to.
Weird how that works. They bristle at the accusation that they're standing up for the rich, billionaires, and corporations, yet in every chance to not completely bend over backwards for the rich, billionaire, and corporations, they missed that opportunity. Weird how that works. Just like they don't like being called fascists, even though they're doing fascist things, but they also won't stop doing it. They just say, "How dare you?" and move right along and kick your ass along the way down. They don't care. They just don't care. More, as maybe Mike Johnson, who's a super Christian, wants to talk to his constituents about what stealing their Medicare and Medicaid will actually do to them. A More Perfect Union interviewed some folks down in Louisiana, talking about Mike Johnson's people down in Louisiana. As he said, they're a bunch of fake folks. Many of them are fraudulently on Medicaid system and also just don't work. They're a bunch of lazy a-holes.
He needs to come down on our level and live like we do. He wouldn't survive, I'm afraid.
Do you have Medicaid right now?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I was just approved a few weeks ago.
You know, there's this narrative that a lot of people on Medicaid are lazy. Do you feel that's accurate?
No, absolutely not.
No, I'm not lazy. I try to get a hustle as much as I can.
No, I think they just can't help themselves.
Well, no, because I work. I do mechanic work, and so it kind of fluctuates. I have a bunch of health problems. I can work, but eventually I'll be where I can't work.
Just got laid off.
I'm a hairstylist, so it really just depends on how much I bring in due to my clientele. I'm currently trying to get like a part-time job, like a night job, just to put more money on the table, especially with the economy going up in prices and stuff.
Can you tell me about how it would affect you if you lost your Medicaid coverage?
Oh, Lord, I would have absolutely teetotally nothing. I would not be able to live, period. I wouldn't even be able to eat.
It would affect me real bad because I can't support myself. It'd be a very big impact because that's all we got right now.
I have some possibly terminal illnesses, and I've had to postpone it waiting for Medicaid. And I'm sitting here literally just trying to survive.
I wouldn't have no coverage at all. My grandchildren wouldn't have any coverage. My daughter wouldn't have any coverage. And we can't just go to the doctor as needed.
I'm curious if you could say something to Representative Johnson about cutting Medicaid, what you might say to him.
Well, Speaker Johnson, I can only say this. If you ain't had the shoes on your feet to see what it feels to be like under these conditions, then you won't never know it. Come out here and stay a little while.
Part of that bill would also give tax breaks to the richest 5%. So billionaires would pay less in taxes. How do you feel about that?
It's basically let's keep the rich rich and the poor poor. They have the money to pay for it. So why would you make them pay less?
They're going to stay a billionaire, and then we still going to be poor.
It's just the constituents talking to him, who again he dismissed and told his fellow colleagues to not go to those town halls and talk to them because they must be fake paid agitators. Remember that when you vote, because I don't know how many of them voted for him, but I know enough of them voted for him that he's in office. Just remember what he says to you in response. This is what Democrats are doing. This is half of the anger that just comes from this type of stuff. This is what Democrats are doing. Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats, strong, powerful voice. You guys ready to be really mad?
Shame on Republicans for trying to jam this bill down the throats of the American people. Thank you, everyone.
Hakeem Jeffries, his response to that whole thing, his response to what these constituents are probably saying, his response to this bill as they were fighting back for it with rhetoric of talking about the next election, he throws flamethrowers by saying, They should be ashamed of themselves. That's what Hakeem Jeffries was doing. They should be ashamed of themselves. I'm dropping the mic and I'm gonna walk off like I did something. Please get these losers away from leadership. But they complain about how Democrats are way too tough on Republicans. Oh, they call it way too many names. That's why you lost. You may be lost because you never fought, because you're on the point of being Republican light. So you can just facilitate this madness and then hope maybe you can get some positions of power in the next election after you watch them destroy the country. That's the plan for Democratic leadership. Well, we're going to let them destroy the entire country because, by then, constituents and voters are going to be so upset that we sat back and watched them destroy things and did nothing about it. Didn't even talk much about it except say, shame on you. How could you do such a thing? That's Hakeem Jeffries' point of view. In fact, I want to show you this stupid ass picture of Hakeem Jeffries that he posted on his Instagram, I think. Look at this guy. They took a picture and he said something like, we're going to continue to fight this in Congress. Bro, please. I'm going to take my Louisville Slugger and then sit it back in this corner and continue to kiss their ass and say, shame on you. That's the fight. This guy is the fight, bro. So as again, people's lives are in danger. People's lives are destroyed. This is the Democratic fight for it. That's the plan. To hold up baseball bats and say shame on you. Everyone loved them some John Fetterman. You guys remember John Fetterman? The guy that was defended by so many Democratic voters because he was getting attacked by these conservatives for being too sloppy and messy, and he doesn't really wear a suit. Oh, and he had that stroke and he had his issues with speaking again. How can someone work in this fashion? He's been completely off the rails. We know his stance has been on the genocide in Gaza. We know where his stance has been there. But how about his stance on where this vote had been going? Because he was really annoyed. He was upset. Democratic Senator John Fetterman was so upset, but he was upset for the wrong damn reasons.
Oh my God! I just want to go home. I've already I've missed our entire trip to the beach. My family's going to be back before we on that. So and again, I'm going to vote no. There's no drama. The votes are going to go. In fact, the only interesting votes are going to be on the margin, whether that's Collins or Johnson and those. But all the Democrats, we all know how that's going to go. And I don't think it's really helpful to put people here till when some ungodly hour.
Fetterman wants to go to the beach. His family went to the beach and they're going to be back home before me. I can't believe it. I missed the sun because my job is to do something. Sure, he voted against it. But what he wanted to do is, why are we still talking about it? We already know that we're not going to do anything. We already know that the Republicans are going to do what they're going to do. Why should I talk about what the Republicans are doing? Why should I talk about the destruction of the country? Why am I not upset about selling out my constituents with absolutely no care for what they're upset about and what's going to happen to them? Why am I not out every day talking about this? Why am I not in the damn streets talking about it, representing my people? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many TV hits he's done on this or how much he's tried to tell people what's going on. But at this point, he just wants to go to the beach.